Good morning, all of you. Now we are going to discuss about commonly committed mistake in costing CA inter-examination. In exam, where and all chances of committing mistakes are there. Topic wise, I would like to highlight where the students are used to commit the mistake. So those mistakes try to avoid, because each and every mistake validity in CA examination is 6 months. To avoid the mistake, you have to write more and more model exam. Writing one model exam is equal to avoiding one attempt. Now I like to discuss topic wise where you will have the chance to commit the mistake. First topic, basic concept. With respect to basic concept, substantially theory oriented topic. Whenever theory comes, most of the theory they are picking from the basic concept. You should be strong in the theory part. If you are strong in theory, then only can be in the position to understand the practical problem also. With respect to theory in examination, number of points also equally important. How many points you are going to write? Point wise presentation is acceptable. Where and all possible, we have to draw the chart also. You can create your own chart. And the more importantly, how many points you are going to write, bullet white points, that is important. So number of points is important. You should know how to develop the point wise presentation. Many occasions in classroom itself, I said the best example, short notes on opportunity cost. It's very frequently asked a question from basic concepts. Many students not able to score full mark, 3 or 4 mark question. In general, they're asking short notes on opportunity cost. But many of them not able to get the entire 4 mark or 3 mark because they are not in the position to write the sufficient points. In general, student used to write the next best alternative is called opportunity cost. Or opportunity cost nothing but value of sacrifice made. For that and all, we can't the position to allot any mark. Or few of them going to write withdrawal of fixed deposit and investing in the fund for our business. What interest foregone, there is opportunity cost. But unfortunately, those answers we are used to provide only 0 mark. The reason, the requirement of the question is short notes on opportunity cost, not example for the opportunity cost. If they ask example for the opportunity cost, your answer is correct. Therefore, you should be in the position to know example is the ornament to the main answer, value addition to the main answer, but you have to write the definition part properly, then only you get the full mark. Even to score 4 mark short notes on opportunity cost, we are expecting 8 points. Each point carries half of mark. It's a value of sacrifice made or opportunity foregone in accepting the alternative course of action. That is the next best alternative is called opportunity cost. It arises or applicable only if there is an option or alternative should be there. If there is no alternative, there is no opportunity cost. It will not recorded in the books of accounts. It is used for the purpose of managerial decision making. Costs which are useful for the purpose of decision making are called relevant costs. Therefore, opportunity costs also form part of relevant costs. Thereafter, you have to write the example. So totally 8 points. Each point carries half a mark. Many students not even know 8 points are there with respect to opportunity cost itself. That's why understanding is different. Whatever you understood, how we are going to reproduce the answer in the examination is different. Depending upon how we are going to reproduce, accordingly mark will be there. Number of points also equally important. Each point carries half a mark. That's the reason 8.4 mark they're allotting. Students are nowadays, they ready to understand the subject, but they don't know how to reproduce the subject. For reproduction purpose, number of revision is must. Without understanding, mere mugging the topics utter waste. You can't even imagine to become a chartered accountant. Conceptual clarity is must, and thereafter you need a revision. Practice is must. So concept plus revision only make you to clear the examination. For that, you have to write more and more model examination. Objectives of cost accounting. That is also frequently asked, 3-mark question. 6 points are there. All the points you have to write. Each point carries half of a mark. What are all the objectives are there? Ascertainment of cost, determination of selling price, ascertainment of profit on each activity, cost control, cost reduction, decision making. So you have to write all the 6 points, then only you can be the person to get the full mark. So with respect to theory part, number of points equally important. You have to write more points. You have to write sufficient points. For that, you need a lot of revision. The second mistake in basic concept is, these are all the points you're supposed to remember. Conversion cost is not is equal to factory cost. There I am going to repeat one more time with respect to what? Material costing also, as well as in labor costing also. Conversion cost. Factory cost, direct material, direct labor, direct expenses. Total is called prime cost. Add factory overhead. Total is equal to factory cost. The factory cost is also known as works cost. So if I am going to remove the material cost, the remaining cost is called, the remaining cost is called conversion cost. Other than material cost is called conversion cost. So with the material cost up to factory cost, with the material cost, it's called the factory cost. Without material cost is called what? Conversion cost. Therefore, conversion cost is equal to direct labor plus direct expenses plus production overhead is called conversion cost. Whenever conversion cost comes, they are writing material cost also they are writing. That's not the correct one. Other than material cost is called conversion cost. This area is an important one. Next, whenever percentage comes into picture, it's applicable entire costing itself. Percentage on what? Whenever you are going to apply the percentage on what? That is more important. 10% means 10% on cost or 10% on sales value. So on what you have to identify, accordingly you have to apply. Many students not even referring percentage on what. The 20% is mean there mean immediately they are applying the 20%. On what we have to apply, that is more important. For that you have to be carefully how to read the question. Next, one basic concept past exam question with respect to fixation of revised selling price. Revised selling price fixation, the requirement is whether the company need same amount of profit or same rate of profit. That you have to read carefully. Amount of profit in what is the previous profit, same quantum amount of profit. But in exam, many occasions they give rate of profit. Rate means percentage you have to compute, like net profit ratio. The rate you have to identify. 20% means you have to apply 20%. The rate of profit. So before you are going to fix the revised selling price, you should be careful with respect to read the question properly, whether the requirement of the question is same amount of profit or same rate of profit. There students are committing the mistake. Next, they used to confuse between period cost and product cost. Product cost is different, period cost is different. Product cost to produce the product. Therefore, in general, product cost comes under the variable cost. Period cost incurred for that particular period, in general, we can consider the period cost as a fixed cost. Product cost alone form part of inventory valuation, stock valuation. For valuation of stock inventory, product cost alone will come. Period cost will not form part of valuation of stock. Even as per the accounting standard 2, if you are going to refer, product cost alone will form part. Therefore, product cost is different from period cost. Then with respect to semi-variable cost, whenever semi-variable cost arises, it's a duty for you to segregate how much is the variable cost component and how much is the fixed cost component. For that, you should be in the position to know whether that particular expenses is semi-variable cost or not. How to identify the expenses is semi-variable cost? Two period information will be there or two quantitative information will be there. How much the cost incurred for the two particular situation. Situation 1 to situation 2. Both the costs are same means obviously it's a fixed cost. When compared to situation 1, situation 2, proportionately increase or decrease means then it is called variable cost. Depending upon the quantity, proportionately it's going to increase mean then it is called variable cost. Neither remain constant, not proportionately varies. When compared to proportionate cost, it little less, then that particular cost is called semi-variable cost. So how to identify one situation or other situation? When compared to proportionate cost is lesser, little lesser means then it is called, that expense is called semi-variable cost. Whenever semi-variable cost arises, it is your duty to segregate how much the variable cost component and how much the fixed cost component, because it's partly fixed cost and partly variable cost. Immediately you have to refer methods of segregation of semi-variable cost. 5 methods are there. That is also directly or frequently asked question. 5 methods of segregation of semi-variable cost. One is graphical method, analytical method, high point, low point method, least square method, and the comparison method. So these are all the various methods you have to apply with respect to segregation of semi-variable cost. So these are all the things you have to remember with respect to material costing. Sorry, basic concepts. Now we would like to move for commonly committed mistake with respect to material costing topic. The second topic, material costing. In material costing, where and all chances of committing mistakes are there? Here they used to commit the mistake, EOQ is equal to ROQ. Remember one thing, EOQ is equal to ROQ. ROQ may not equal to EOQ. EOQ is equal to ROQ. ROQ may not equal to EOQ. It's purely based on how many quantity are going to purchase and in how many lots they are ready to give. Accordingly, EOQ may be ROQ, ROQ may not equal to EOQ. There they will commit the mistake. Then, next commonly committed mistake, ordering cost and carrying cost. If you are going to come, the formula for EOQ, square root of 2AO divided by C or 2AB divided by C. So, numerator is ordering cost, denominator is a carrying cost. If you don't know how to bifurcate what and all ordering cost and what and all carrying cost, numerator become denominator, denominator become numerator. Instead of getting 60 mark, you'll get only 16 mark only. Therefore, you should be very careful. What and all will form part of ordering cost and what and all will form part of carrying cost. Because in exam, to compute EOQ, more than one ordering cost will be there in this question. Similarly, more than one carrying cost will be there in the question. Ordering cost depending upon the order, how many times I'm going to place the order. Accordingly, if I'm going to incur mean, that cost is called ordering cost. Whereas carrying cost, to carry the raw material in my godown, the maintenance expenses will come under the carrying cost. So, ordering cost for ordering the quantity, carrying cost for maintenance of the quantity. With respect to maintenance, insurance cost, stock insurance cost will come under the maintenance expenses. Whereas transit insurance will come under the ordering cost. Because whenever I'm going to transfer, at the time of order only, I'm going to transfer. Carriage inwards or outwards will come under the ordering cost. Whereas here, maintenance expenses, opportunity cost, obsolescence cost, those costs and all will come under the carrying cost. Because I'm maintaining the stock in my godown, what are all the costs I'm incurring, those costs are called carrying cost. Therefore, you should be strong with respect to examples of ordering cost and carrying cost. Kindly refer our LMR book. I have given the sufficient example, ordering and carrying cost, and the concept-based theory question also I have given the LMR book. Identify what all comes under the ordering cost or carrying cost, or in our theory session, separately I have given all videos. There also you have mentioned, okay, in detail with respect to ordering and carrying cost. So if you are going to confuse in ordering and carrying cost, the entire problem going to become wrong. Now, there in computation of EOQ, they'll commit the mistake. In exam also, they'll give the twist with respect to A, O, and the C. The three things you have to identify. After all, the three things. A represent annual requirement of raw material, that is important. Sometimes they'll give the finished goods. You should be in the position to identify the raw material. That too. Raw material value we don't want. We need raw material in quantity. Annual requirement of raw material in quantity. So quantitative information we need for the A. O represent ordering cost. Sometimes they'll give the total ordering cost, but here we need ordering cost per order. We need per order ordering cost. Same manner, carrying cost we need per unit per annum. So the per unit per annum is important, per order is important. Here raw material quantity is important. There only twist will be there in exam. Therefore, you should be very careful with respect to whether raw material is available. That too annual basis we need. That too quantitative info, per order based ordering cost, per unit based carrying cost. These are all the things students used to commit the mistake. Next, many occasions they given finished goods information instead of raw material information with respect to annual requirement. So we have to identify raw material quantity, not finished goods quantity. Next, with respect to computation of EOQ, that second commonly committed mistake is, first two approaches are there. Many students not even know what are all the approaches with respect to computation of EOQ. One is formula based approach, another one is called tabular approach. When we have to apply the formula, when we have to apply the tabular, whenever they ask you to compute EOQ, immediately student will find formula based only. Whether not even they are not to identify whether the formula base is applicable for this question or not. Tabular based method, when it is applicable, if the discounts available in this question, purchase price not constant, or options are given in this question, comparable, we have to compare, then we have to go by way of tabular method. We should not apply the formula based method. Sufficient problems available in LMR book. Kindly refer few circumstance formula based method and a few circumstance tabular based method. You have to identify which method is applicable. Thereafter only you have to solve the problem. Next, always remember with respect to answer part, not only in economic ordering quantity, not only in material costing, entire costing as a whole, the answer part does not contain prefix or suffix. You won't get any mark. Reduction in mark will be there. Half mark to 1 mark will gone. So EOQ, even EOQ also, if you're going to write after identifying the answer, after following the problem, 250, whether 250 units or rupees or kgs or liters or donkey or monkey, you have to specify. Otherwise, you won't get any mark at all. So prefix or suffix is important. So before you are going to write 250, sometime it may be in kgs, EOQ. Sometime it may be in liters. Sometime it may be in units. Sometime it may be in pieces. You have to be very, very careful that quotation you have to, that what denote you have to properly. Otherwise, reduction in mark will be there. Here, if you are going to write the answer alone, it may be for maximum level, minimum level, reorder level. Clear? It may be for economic ordering quantity. Mere writing the number, you won't get any mark. There, students are losing half mark to 1 mark. That to every step they are losing half mark to 1 mark. Suppose the requirement of the question, find maximum level, reorder level, minimum level, and EOQ. Then 4 mark or at least 2 mark, they are going to lose those 2 marks. Even half mark reduction. So 2 marks gone. Therefore, you should be very careful. Whenever you are going to write the answer, you have to write specific answer, proper answer. Then, even various stock level, maximum level, minimum level, reorder level, average level, danger level, for all the level, it represents with respect to raw material only, not for finished goods. That's more important because finished goods data also sometimes available in this question to confuse the student. Same manner, to write the formula maximum, minimum, average and all, the formula minimum usage into minimum lead time, maximum usage into maximum lead time, average usage into average lead time. Here usage represent in formula, in setting of various stock level, usage represent only raw material. not finished goods. Again, many occasion in exam, finished goods data will be there, but we have to derive raw material data. Otherwise, you won't get any mark. Therefore, mere mugging the formula, no use. You should be in the position to know the concept behind the formula. Usage of raw material, that is supposed to avoid. With respect to average level, for average level, we are having two formulas. Minimum level plus maximum level divided by 2, or minimum level plus half of the reordering quantity. Two formulas are there. Between two formula, which formula you have to write? Any one of the formula you can write in the exam, depending upon the availability of the data. But both the answers not going to give the same, both the formula will not going to give the same answer. Two different answer will come. For example, here 300, here 280, two different answer will come. It may be units. Then any one of the both the answers are correct only. Any one of the answer you can write, any one of the formula you can apply, depending upon the availability of the data in this question. But with respect to danger level also, we are having two formulas. One is minimum usage into minimum lead time. Another one is minimum usage into minimum time for emergency purchase. Sometimes normal usage also they are taking. Any one of the formula you can apply. Here, with respect to minimum usage into minimum lead time, or normal usage, or minimum usage into minimum time for emergency purchase. The two different formula are going to give the two different answer only. But in exam, between two, which only have to select, like average, any one of the formula we can't the question apply. Whenever minimum time for emergency purchase given in this question, this formula only how to apply. The rush delivery is not there, emergency purchase is not there, then only you can go for minimum usage into minimum lead time. This is the dangerous area. Next, you should be in the position to know with respect to lead time. Lead time is the time gap between ordering date and receiving date. So when I am going to place the order, when I am going to receive the good, the gap is called lead time. Clear? Suppose days will be there, date of order and the date of receipt will be there. Then student will get the confusion. Whether any one of the date I have to take, both the date have to take, both the dates we can consider, or we can omit both the dates. They'll get the confusion. For that, any one of the dates only have to we can take. Suppose 1st January is the date of order. 5th January is the what date of receipt. Whether I have to consider 1st also, 5th also, or both 1st and 5th we can omit, or any one of the date I have to consider. The answer is any one of the date only have to consider. Okay, both the dates should not omit. So any one of the date only have to consider. If you are going to consider 1st day, then 5th you know to consider. Or if you are going to do recipient date, you know to worry about ordering date. So that we can be the person to identify the lead time. So lead time is the time gap between date of order and date of receipt of goods is called lead time. Sometimes lead time also you have to identify in the question itself. Then with respect to carrying cost, formula for the carrying cost, half of the order size into carrying cost per unit per annum. Here commonly committed mistake, student will write half of the EOQ. So half of the EOQ you should not write, because in general, economic ordering quantity is order, whatever you are going to order is economic ordering quantity. That's the reason EOQ form part. But formula wise, half of the order size only have to apply. Because whenever you come across tabular method, EOQ also one option, and quarterly purchase, monthly purchase also will be there. That circumstance, half of the EOQ not applicable, half of the how many quantity you order, that is important. Therefore, formula for carrying cost is half of the order size into carrying cost per unit per annum. Don't write half of the EOQ. But the half is not applicable. Whenever you come across carrying cost, half comes into picture, half of the order size. But the half will not form part of the carrying cost whenever safety stock is there. For with respect to carrying cost of safety stock also you have to incur the maintenance expenses we have to carry. Whenever safety stock arises, okay, then the formula for the safety stock, carrying cost of the safety stock is safety stock into carrying cost per unit per annum. Here the safety stock we no need to put 1/2. 1/2 not applicable, because safety stock have to maintain throughout the year. Therefore, the 1/2 concept formula not applicable with respect to what? Safety stocks carrying costs. So there, these are all the places student used to commit the mistake. The next commonly committed mistake for labor costing. So the next one is what? Labor costing. So with respect to labor costing, percentage of efficiency, with respect to percentage of efficiency, there they will commit the mistake. If you see percentage of efficiency, one is based on output based valuation, output based computation of efficiency. Another one is based on hourly based computation. Whenever time based efficiency or output based efficiency, accordingly formula will become what? Changed. In the sense, if I'm going to produce more unit, I'm a more efficient person. But if I'm going to take more number of hours, I'm a less efficient person. Therefore, formula also will change. With respect to output based computation of efficiency, formula for efficiency based on output is actual output divided by standard output into 100. Actual output produced divided by standard output into 100. Whereas hourly based computation means standard hours divided by actual hour. Now it formula become ulta. Okay, standard hours divided by actual hours into 100. So the efficiency formula itself going to change based on output data available or hourly data available. Then for examination, you can be the question to refer time rate system, piece rate system, Halsey system, and Rowan system. These are all the system more than sufficient for exam. That too, the last two system, Halsey and Rowan is more important. Even in that, reverse working problem is more important. Computation of reverse working based on Halsey and Rowan system, merging with the Halsey and Rowan system reverse working, sufficient problem available in the LMR book as well as classroom. Those problems alone kindly work out. And even the Halsey and Rowan system also, whether conversion cost based reverse working or factory cost based reverse working, you have to be read properly. In that question, many occasions they ask conversion cost based reverse working problem, and a few circumstances they ask for the factory cost based also. The difference is what? The raw material cost. With the raw material cost, factory cost. Without raw material cost, conversion cost. Accordingly, you should be in the question know how to create the format. Clear? Then the next important with respect to labor is labor turnover. With respect to labor turnover, here frequently committed mistake is in exam they won't specify whether the problem is based on without expansion or with expansion, because three different sets of formula available for with expansion as well as without expansion with respect to labor turnover. In exam, they won't give any clue. This problem is based on with expansion or this problem is based on without expansion. You have to identify. Accordingly, formula also going to vary because, you know, without expansion means separation method, replacement method, mixed method formula you have to apply. With expansion means separation, accession, and the flex method applicable. Therefore, what are all the three formulas applicable? Further, it's purely based on with or without. How to identify the problem is based on with expansion or without expansion? There only student used to commit the mistake. Whenever new recruitments are there in this question, additional workers are joining in the question, we have to solve the problem by way of with expansion. Therefore, whenever new recruitments are given in this question, we have to use the formula based on with expansion. If no new recruitment, no additional workers, then only we have to solve the problem by way of without expansion. The next level of twist in respect to labor turnover is equivalent annual labor turnover. With respect to equivalent annual labor turnover, whatever the labor turnover you got based on the previous table, that you have to convert into per annum basis called equivalent annual labor turnover. Suppose labor turnover under replacement method 5%. 5% that to given data for per month. Therefore, equivalent annual labor turnover is equal to 5 into 12 is equal to equivalent annual labor turnover. Remember one thing, labor turnover always you have to maintain in terms of, or you have to express in terms of percentage only. Then overtime computation also they will commit the mistake. Overtime you have to read the theory properly without reading the concept, very difficult. If the workers are worked more than 9 hours per day, it's a per day computation. The condition is or condition as per the Indian factory said, or condition more than 9 hours per day or more than 48 hours per week. If any one of the condition has been satisfied, the excess time is called labor turnover. There they should, you student will commit the mistake. Instead of 9 hours, they will take what? 8 hours. Clear? Or cumulative condition, but totally in a week, if it's cross more than 48 hours or not, that is also they have to refer. Clear? So this is with respect to what? Labor costing. Next, the topic is called overhead. Overhead with respect to overhead. You know, overhead means you have to apply only indirect cost alone will form part of overhead. We should not consider any direct expenses. Indirect expenses alone you have to consider. Therefore, direct material, direct labor, direct expenses will not form part of this particular topic and will not form part of production overhead. That is production department will not form part of production department. But direct material or direct wages or direct expenses of the service department you have to consider, because all the service departments are indirectly helps you to produce a product. Therefore, all the expenses of the service departments are indirect expenses. Therefore, production department's direct cost we should not consider. Service department direct cost alone we have to consider. So you should be strong in the theory part. Then they used to play in examination, they used to play with the terminology called primary distribution and secondary distribution. Given table as per the primary distribution, compute secondary distribution. So you should be in the position to know what is called primary distribution and what is called secondary distribution. Whenever you come across overhead, you know steps to solve overhead problem: collection, classification, allocation, apportionment, reapportionment, and recovery. Allocation plus apportionment is called primary distribution. The reapportionment is called secondary distribution. So many occasions they used to ask preparation of secondary distribution. So secondary distribution represent what? Reapportionment. Primary distribution table will be there in the question, that is allocation apportionment. So sometimes they are asked to prepare primary distribution also. You should be very careful what is the requirement of the question, because they won't ask directly prepare allocation or apportionment. Instead of that, they'll ask what? Allocation or primary distribution or secondary distribution. So primary distribution represent allocation plus apportionment is called the primary distribution. Reapportionment is called the secondary distribution. Whenever you come across reapportionment, you have to be very careful with respect to choosing the method of reapportionment. What all the methods are there? Direct distribution method, stepladder method, and reciprocal method. Which method is applicable? That is also won't be there in the question paper. You have to identify. Accordingly, answer also will change. Direct distribution method, when it is applicable, if the service department renders services only to the production department, then we have to solve the problem by way of direct distribution method. If one service department renders services to the production department as well as the another service department, whereas another service department renders service to production department, then we have to solve the problem by way of stepladder method. If both the service departments are render service to each other, then only reciprocal method. That clue will be there in the question paper based on the theory, based on the concept. We have to identify the problem is based on direct distribution or stepladder method or reciprocal method. Under reciprocal method, two different techniques are there to solve the problem. One is simultaneous equation method and another one is repeated distribution method. Between two, any one of the method you can choose. It's purely your choice only. The question is not specifically given, then any one of the technique you can use. In general, simultaneous equation method is a more popular method. So these are all methods of reapportionment. So methods of reapportionment, kindly go through the theory. Thereafter, you can solve the problem. Then, whenever you come across stepladder method, only for the purpose of stepladder method, better to start with the service department for the purpose of apportionment. You know, service department P1, P2, P3. Thereafter, production department X, Y, Z. So better to start with the service department. Thereafter, you have to start for production department. Therefore, you can be the person to see the stepladder also in the answer itself. Clear? Only for the purpose of stepladder method, better to start with the service department. Remaining all other method, production department, thereafter service department. They are also formatted also equally important. Particulars column, basis of apportionment you have to write. That is also form part of the table. Thereafter production department, P1, P2, P3, service department S1, S2, and total column also you have to write. In heading itself, you can write rupees, everything expressed in terms of rupees. Okay, rupees column also, in rupees also you have to write. Clear? Then, basis of apportionment, some expenses ready-made basis available mean, then you have to write direct, nothing but directly given in this question. No need any ratio. Or you can write given. it is there in this question, that specification, given or direct, that should be there in the basis column. Then, at the time of reapportionment, we should not have any remaining expenses in your hand. After transferring all the expenses to all the department, production as well as service department, thereafter only you have to go for re means again reapportionment. Reapportionment represents transferring of service department expenses to production department. Therefore, the reapportionment arises only after transferring all the expenses to all the department. The next commonly committed mistake is variable cost and fixed cost. With respect to variable cost, we have to apportion the variable cost based on actual capacity. Apportionment of variable cost only based on actual capacity. But fixed cost you have to apportion based on budgeted capacity, also called normal capacity. Because fixed cost, irrespective of the actual number of production, it's going to incur. Based on budgeted capacity only, you have to apportion the fixed cost. Next commonly committed mistake, power. With respect to power, we have to apportion based on horsepower rate. In general, we have to apportion based on horsepower rate. But horsepower rate represents what? Total horsepower consumed for each and every department. That is called horsepower. Sometime in exam question, they are giving horsepower of the machine will be there, and machines, how many horse worked will be there. Machine's number of horse. Then we have to multiply horsepower of the machine, multiply with the number of horse machine work is equal to total horsepower you have to compute. So before you are going to apportion the power, we have to identify whether total horsepower given in this question or horsepower of the machine alone given in this question. The horsepower of the machine given in this question, we have to multiply with how many horse the machine has run, so that we can identify total horsepower. Then the next important mistake with respect to student side is indirect wages and miscellaneous expenses or sundries. These are all the expenses we have to apportion based on direct wages. In general, we have to apportion based on direct wages. But in case of mission dependent industry, then missioner is a criteria to apportion. So we have to identify the question itself. The problem is based on mission dependent industry or labor dependent industry. Clear? So in general, we have to apportion indirect expenses, sundries, and as well as what miscellaneous expenses and all, we have to apportion based on direct wages only. But question is specifically given or predominantly mission dependent industry, you should not apportion based on direct wages. We have to apportion based on missioner rate. So these are all the areas you should be careful. And next important area with respect to overhead topic itself is under absorption of overhead. Under absorption of overhead, student, you will get the confusion only in exam part. That's the specialty of this student. So you should be very careful for that. We need to practice. Absorbed overhead minus actual overhead is equal to difference in absorption. Assume absorbed overhead 10 lakh rupees. Actual overhead given in this question 12 lakh rupees. Difference comes to 2 lakhs rupees. Immediately student will write it's a over absorption because expenses more. That's not a correct answer. The 2 lakhs represent under absorption, because the requirement is what? Under absorption is less mean under absorption. Absorption is more means over absorption. Easy way to understand. Here actual only more, absorption less only, no. That's why it's called under absorption. Therefore, absorbed overhead less than actual overhead mean that is called under absorption. Absorbed overhead more than actual mean that it is called over absorption. Accordingly, you have to give the accounting treatment. So further, you should be the person to know whether under absorption or over absorption. Many students, they used to commit the mistake while computing the difference in absorption itself, whether under or over absorption, there itself they'll commit the mistake. So you should be very careful with respect to under absorption and over absorption based problem, because frequently asked 6 and or 7 mark question. It's a frequently asked question. So those questions under absorption, over absorption, 2 or 3 problems I have given the LMR book. The 3 problem more than sufficient. Beyond that, they won't ask any question. Clear? So with respect to accounting treatment of under absorption and over absorption, 6 mark, sometimes 7 mark question also will come. Then the next commonly committed mistake, maximum capacity is also known as rated capacity. Sometimes they'll use the confusion. So various levels of capacity you have to identify. Maximum capacity, normal capacity, actual capacity, idle capacity. So well, with respect to computation of various capacities, sometimes instead of maximum capacity, they'll give rated capacity. Both are same only. You don't need to get any confusion. Then the next topic is called ABC, activity-based costing. With respect to ABC, ABC is nothing but it's an advanced version of overhead. Okay, overhead today, advanced version is called ABC. Therefore, ABC is applicable only for indirect cost, indirect expenses, not for direct cost. So, whenever you come across ABC, up to prime cost remain constant because all prime costs are called direct cost only. We have to apply ABC only for indirect expenses, nothing but overhead alone you have to apply the ABC. Whenever you come across ABC, you have to remember the steps also. Identification of various activities in the organization. Thereafter, cost pool for the respective activity. Cost driver for those activity. Accordingly, you have to identify cost driver rate. Because in examination, cost driver rate based problems only, many questions are there in past examination. So cost driver rate, how we have to apportion based on ABC. Those problem alone, kindly basic level problem alone, more than sufficient with respect to activity based costing. The next topic is called service sector costing. With respect to service sector costing, you know, you have to add all the expenses. It may be depreciation, it may be repairs, insurance, all the cost, driver salary, conductor salary, clear? All we are going to add. Total is called operating cost. Total operating cost. Sometimes they ask you to compute, ask you to add a commission also and profit also. Thereafter only operating revenue will come. And the commission 10% on takings, profit 15% on takings will be there. Student used to get the commission, used to get the confusion. Taking nothing but total revenue is called taking. Therefore, the taking 100 mean commission 10%. Taking 100 mean profit 15%. Therefore, the remaining 75% is equal to operating cost. 75% is equal to operating cost mean 10% proportionately how much, 15% is how much, 100% is how much. So, with proportionate basis, he can be the portion identified. You don't need to get the confusion on what. That is also here equally important. Next commonly committed mistake in service sector costing is composite units. Composite unit consists of the direct theory question as well as practical question. Many students, they will commit the mistake here. Composite units nothing but absolute ton kilometer and commercial ton kilometers are called composite units. Absolute ton and commercial ton. So we have to identify absolute ton. More than one component will be there. More than one unit element will be there. Combination of both only passenger kilometer, ton kilometer. Therefore, more than one element is there. That's why it's called a composite unit. So, how to compute composite unit? They used to commit the mistake. Formula, you should be very careful with respect to absolute and commercial. Answer part is very easy. You have to remember the formula. Ton into kilometer is equal to ton kilometer. Absolutely, you have to compute how many ton and how many kilometer carries. Whereas commercial ton kilometer, average ton into total kilometer you have to compute. The two formula, if you can remember, so composite unit parts also over, easily can get 4 marks. Then always read the requirement of the question. Sometimes they're asking cost per passenger kilometer. Sometimes they're asking fare per passenger kilometer. Sometimes they're asking fare per trip. So whether per trip or per passenger kilometer, whether cost or fare, you have to be very careful. Fare represent cost plus profit is equal to fare. A trip represent up and down. Okay, to and fro is called what? Trip. Up and down or to and fro. Therefore, here passenger kilometer or ton kilometer, passenger kilometer or passenger per trip, that we have to be read properly. Sometimes cost, sometimes fare basis. So these are all the area you have to be focused more. These are all the points you have to remember before you go for the examination. Next, joint product and byproduct costing. The next topic. With respect to joint product and byproduct, there they will commit the mistake with respect to choosing the methods. Methods of apportionment of joint cost. Physical unit method, average unit cost method, technical point method, market value, contribution margin method, market value method. Under market value method, market value at split off point, market value after further processing, NRV method. In exam, in general, they won't give which method is applicable in that particular question. You have to identify. Kindly read the theory carefully. Availability of the information is a criteria for the purpose of application of joint cost, apportionment of joint cost. Clear? And another commonly committed mistake. So, which method you have to apply? You have to be very careful. Then, second one. So, these are all the things you have to refer before go for the examination. Technical point method, also called survey method. Sometimes they're asking survey method. Okay, so don't get the confusion. Technical point method is also called survey method. So survey method is also alternative name for the same. Then, whenever you come across decision making with respect to further process or sales at a split off, and I know to do the further process. Further, you have to remember the format. Format itself more than sufficient. Sales revenue after further processing, less sales revenue at a split off point. Difference is called additional revenue due to further processing, less further processing cost. Balance is equal to net benefit. The net benefit positive means we can do further processing. If the negative means we can select it to split off point. If you can remember the formula, many questions are there, 5 mark question. Happily can be the question to solve just by way of filling the blanks itself. Then, with respect to NRV, you know the format. Sales revenue after further processing, less profit, less selling and distribution expenses, less further processing cost is equal to NRV. Always remember one thing, NRV is for the purpose of apportioning the joint cost. If all the expenses are there, all the informations are there, profit is also there in this question, sales revenue is also there in this question, selling and distribution also there in this question, and the joint cost also there in this question, the remaining is called joint cost. So NRV is equal to joint cost because all the data are available. If any one of the selling and distribution is not there, then we are going to be called, that amount is going to be called nothing but sales revenue minus profit minus selling and distribution not available, less further processing cost. The balance is called the NRV. So all the items are there, mean we are reaching the NRV is equal to joint cost itself. So NRV is a tool for the purpose of apportioning the joint cost. That concept is supposed to have. Then joint cost is for the purpose of production quantity. That is more important, to produce the product. Whereas profit, because they ask you to apportion the joint cost and they ask you to prepare the profitability statement. Profit is for the purpose of sales quantity. That common sense is supposed to know. Clear? Sales, based on sales only we can get the profit, but joint cost incurred for the purpose of producing the product. So joint cost for the purpose of producing the product, production quantity and the sales quantity different mean, you have to be very careful. So joint cost based on production quantity you have to apportion, whereas profitability statement based on sales quantity you have to identify. The next one, if any one of the products is not, the company is not doing further processing. If any one of the product we are not doing further processing, then if you want to apportion the joint cost based on NRV, there commonly committed mistake is, NRV represent what? Sales revenue after further processing. But the concept of after further processing is not applicable for the product which is not further processing. In that circumstance, for the purpose of NRV, sales revenue at the split off point for that particular product itself NRV. Or is it or not? Suppose product A is there, B is there. We have to apportion the joint cost based on NRV. The formula for format for NRV, sales revenue after further processing, less profit, less selling and distribution expenses, less further processing cost, depending upon the availability of the info, balance is equal to NRV. But here, we are not doing any further processing. Then we can't leave as it is. Here, NRV is equal to sales revenue at the split off point itself. In that ratio, we have to apportion. Clear? Even though we are not doing further processing, we have to apportion based on sales revenue at the split off point. That itself, that particular product alone, NRV for the purpose of apportion, because the purpose of NRV is for the purpose of apportioning the joint cost, substantial over form. So even though NRV is not there, For the purpose of apportionment, sales revenue at split off point, we have to consider as an NRV. So these are all the points you have to remember with respect to joint product and byproduct costing. The next important topic, job costing and batch costing. There, where and all student used to commit the mistake. With respect to job costing, we have to prepare job cost sheet. It's similar to cost sheet only, heading job cost sheet and ends with sale value. Instead of sale value, it's called job value is nothing but sale value. So start with the normal cost sheet. How you will prepare? We'll start with the cost sheet and ends with the selling price or sales revenue. Here we have to start with the job cost sheet and ends with the what? Job value. So same format only how to apply, same cost sheet format only. Then in general, factory overheads is based on direct wages. Two cost sheets they may supposed to prepare based on previous year data, previous job data, the next job you have to prepare. In that circumstance, factory overhead based on direct wages we have to take, proportionate basis. Previous job how much the direct wages and how much the factory overhead. The next job, how much the direct wages, accordingly proportionate you have to take factory overheads. Then the next commonly committed mistake, works overhead and works cost. Student used to get the confusion, both are not same. Works overhead nothing but production overhead, works cost nothing but what? Factory cost. Factory cost is also known as works cost. Works cost is different, works overhead is different, because factory cost or works are nothing but prime cost plus factory overhead, prime cost plus works overhead, prime cost plus production overhead is called works cost. So works overhead plus prime cost is equal to works cost, nothing but production overhead plus prime cost is equal to factory cost. So read the question properly. Sometimes they are given works overhead, sometimes they are given works cost. Accordingly, you have to prepare the statement. Clear? Next, the next important point you have to remember is in batch costing. In batch costing, answer part they are not denoting properly. Suppose 200 is the answer after applying the batch, after applying the economic batch. Then they may going to write 200 batches because the batch costing. That's not the correct answer. 200 units per batch, because the requirement of the question is economic batch quantity. Per batch, how many quantity I have to produce? If you are not going to write unit per batch, reduction in half mark to 1 mark will be there. Therefore, answer part with respect to economic batch quantity is unit per batch is the answer part. You have to be very careful. Then, interest element will be there. You know, the format for economic batch quantity, square root of 2a s divided by IC. S represents setup cost per batch, A is equal to annual requirement, and IC is equal to carrying cost, interest element into carrying cost. Whenever interest percentage given in this question, suppose 5% is the interest percentage, based on where we have to apply the 5%, based on our cost of production. Cost of production per unit, that too per unit. C represent carrying cost per unit. Therefore, to produce one product, assume 100 rupees the cost. So 100 into 5% is equal to, you have to take 5 rupees the carrying cost, the denominator. Therefore, where you have to apply the percentage also equally important. Interest cost is on cost of production. Whereas, always remember one thing, economic ordering quantity, we have studied EOQ in material costing. Here, EBQ, economic batch quantity. So economic batch quantity is for finished goods. Batch means producing the product. Economic ordering quantity for raw material. That clarity is still many students not even having. Economic ordering quantity for raw material input. Economic batch is quantity for finished goods. That's the reason here with respect to carrying cost, percentage mean percentage on raw material purchase price. Whereas finished goods batch costing, carrying cost percentage represent the percentage you have to apply on cost of production. Cost of production means output. Raw material purchase price means input. One is with respect to input based one, another is based one output based one. These are all the points you supposed to remember with respect to what? Batch costing. Clear? So every topic you should be very careful in what basis you have to apply. Contract costing, commonly committed mistake in contract costing. With respect to contract costing, work certified similar to sale value. For your better understanding, in contract account it has to come on the credit side, whereas work uncertified it's similar to closing stock of WAP. Because work certified similar to sales value means that is including profit element also included, whereas work uncertified excluding profit, because valuation of stock excluding profit only. That's why work uncertified similar to closing stock of WAP. So closing work uncertified will comes under the credit side of the contract account, whereas closing going to become opening for the next period. So opening work certified will comes under the debit side in the contract account. So before you are going to give the posting, because in general we used to come across in contract costing by work certified and work uncertified. Immediately work uncertified means you don't park it in the credit side. You have to identify the work uncertified which is given in this question is opening balance or closing balance. I have to thereafter only you have to park. Then next commonly committed mistake is cash received. Always remember, cash received will not form part of contract account. Payment received, cash received, because immediately after seeing the cash received, they'll credit in the, because income, cash is the income. By cash received, they'll park. That's not the correct answer. Sales value in work certified inclusive of the cash received. The cash received will be there, form part of the work certified. Therefore, again, you should not park it in the credit side. Then, whenever plant given in this question or machine, any asset given in this question, opening balance plant debit side you have to park, and closing balance. What is closing balance? Opening balance minus depreciation. That you can park it in the credit side. So capital, any machine or capital asset, any plant, opening balance should be debit side, closing balance should be credit side. Or depreciation alone, debit side you can park. Either of the case you can apply. Then, with respect to, sometimes they ask you to pass the entry or what posting with respect to balance sheet. Whenever they ask the balance sheet, memorandum of balance sheet or balance sheet abstract, you have to write. Balance sheet abstract. There, valuation of WAP will come, WAP valuation. With respect to WAP valuation, format you have to apply. Value of work certified, there they will commit the mistake. In asset side, you have to write value of work certified, add value of work uncertified, total, less cash received, and less transfer to reserve. Balance only outer column. You know, in general, transfer to reserve will form part of liability side, but with respect to balance sheet of contract account, we have to do the adjustment at the time of valuation of WAP. The same format you have to apply. Then, with respect to profit posting, notional profit and estimated total profit. For example, notional profit 10,000, estimated total profit 4,000. Then how much you have to recognize in the P&L account? Based on prudent concept, whichever is less. So 4,000 only you have to consider in the P&L account. For profit 4,000 only you have to consider. Suppose notional loss 10,000 and a notional estimated total loss 4,000. Then based on prudent concept, 10,000 loss you have to consider in the P&L account. So loss means worst loss, profit means least profit. Based on prudent concept, you have to apply. Next, with respect to escalation claim, escalation clause, whatever the escalation claim you have derived, that will form part of credit side of the contract account. in contract account, credit side, work certified, one work uncertified, and the escalation claim also will come. Accordingly, profit portion going to increase. With respect to computation of escalation claim, we have to consider the escalation claim is applicable only for change in price of the raw material or change in price of the labor. Rather, escalation claim not applicable for change in quantity or change in hours. So raw material changes, quantity changes, or hourly changes will not applicable in escalation. In escalation claim, it's discussing only about what? Change in price, the market price. Therefore, with respect to computation of escalation claim for material, we have to consider standard quantity into difference between standard price and actual price of material. Difference in price only have to take. Same manner with respect to labor, standard hours into standard rate and actual rate different only have to take. So changes in rate only have to take, price only have to take. You should not consider actual quantity or you should not consider actual cost. There and all, you should be very careful before you are going to pass. Before you are going to what? Write the entry. Now, the next important topic is integral and non-integral accounting system. There, what are all the mistake chances are there? With respect to integral and non-integral account, general ledger adjustment account, they will commit the mistake. It's also called cost ledger adjustment account. General ledger adjustment is also called cost ledger. It's applicable only for non-integral accounting system. So the general ledger or cost ledger adjustment account not applicable for integral accounting. It's applicable only for non-integral accounting system. Non-integral means combination of costing and cost accounting and financial accounting. Next, the reconciliation also applicable arises only for non-integral accounting system, not in integral accounting system. Whenever wages comes into picture with respect to journal entries, 2 entries you have to pass. Better to pass in 2 entry. No need to pass the combined entry. 2 entry you have to pass. One is for occurring the wages. Thereafter, you have to transfer to respective ledger. Okay, whether production wages or for selling and distribution wages, wages for whom accordingly respective ledger you have to transfer. Therefore, 2 entries we are supposed to pass. Okay, then in case of non-integral accounting system, where and all personal account and real accounts are there and all you have to use general ledger adjustment account. So the general ledger adjustment account is a replacement for personal account and real account. Where and all personal account transaction or real account transactions are there and all you have to use the entry called general ledger adjustment. Then, with respect to reconciliation part, factory overhead under absorbed, some amount will be there. Then, whether you have to park it in debit side or credit side, confusion will come. Under absorption, expenses less, therefore you have to park it in credit side in memorandum of reconciliation account. Provided you have to start with profit as per financial accounting, ends with profit as per cost accounting. In that circumstance, under absorption mean credit side, expenses under absorption mean credit side. Same manner, administrative example, for example, administrative overhead, overstated, that is what over absorbed means. Then that you have to park it in debit side. So many students used to commit the mistake, the under absorption and over absorption terminology. So where you have to park, debit side or credit side? Under absorption mean debit side, over absorption of expenses mean credit side. With respect to journal, whenever they ask you to park a journal, better to write narration also. Narration also you have to write, being within bracket, you have to write the narration. Clear? Don't feel it's outdated and all. For that also mark will be there. But many circumstances, many occasions in exam, we don't need to write narration. Ignore narration will be there. If they are not need to ask any narration, you can omit. Otherwise, better to write narration to save your mark. Okay. Then, with respect to memorandum of reconciliation account, kindly remember the format. It's a format based one. If you can fill the format, automatically you'll get the answer. So what is debit side, credit side, what are all the entries will come? Clear? You have to write a debit, credit, to, buy, everything you have to write. Accordingly, mark will be there. And remember one thing, in memorandum of reconciliation account, In P&L account, some loss on profit on sale of equipment, loss on sale of equipment is there. Then where we have to park, that is important. For example, profit on sale of land, that we have to park it in memorandum of reconciliation account, debit side. Dividend received, that's applicable only in financial account, not in cost accounting. Therefore, rectification entry, debit side out right. Similarly, preliminary expenses written off, already debited in the P&L account, that you have to credit side you have to write. Preliminary expenses written off. So expenses, what and all we want to omit from P&L account because it is not there in cost account, mean that you have to, for contra entry you have to post in credit side. Similarly, income means debit side. But here also they'll reduce half a mark. Here you have to write the heading for the two transactions. The heading is income included in financial accounting, but not in cost accounting. In that heading, you have to write point A, point B. Kindly refer our LMR book in format for memorandum of reconciliation, or kindly refer packet size book also. There also I have mentioned the second half of the page. So memorandum of reconciliation formats. There also you specifically mention income included in the financial accounting, but not in cost accounting. In that heading, you have to write. Similarly, preliminary expenses, the heading is expenses included in financial accounting, but not in cost accounting. Under the heading, you have to write preliminary expenses written off. For that, each half mark. Otherwise, you lose 1 mark. Clear? So these are all the small items you have to consider properly. Small things make a perfection, but perfection is not a small thing. Even half mark or 1 mark also equally important. You know, the total mark after doing the valuation of your paper, the total mark comes to 39 means confirmed fail. The total mark comes to, even after adding half a mark, total comes to 39.5 means you won't put 39.5, rounding off to 40 mark. Therefore, you pass. Even the half mark may be the turning point for your examination. Therefore, even small corrections, small mistake, you have to rectify well in advance. Then, with respect to marginal costing, where and all chances of committing mistakes are there in marginal costing, especially the answer part. Okay, whether in units or quantity, I think what rupees. So many of them having the doubt whether RS I have to write rupee symbol or rupees new symbol I have to put. It is always advisable to put the rupee symbol, don't put RS. So the answer is in value or answer is in unit, that you have to identify before you are going to apply any formula. Because many occasions they are asking break-even point, margin of safety, desired sales, indifference point, shutdown point, all the places. Sometimes they are asking quantity of BEP or quantity of margin of safety, volume of margin of safety, volume or quantity, both are same. Indifference point, shutdown point. The answer requirement is in quantity, or find the value of BEP, value of margin of safety, value of desired sales. So value means rupees and quantity means in maybe units or kgs, depending upon the availability of the information in this question. So before you are going to apply the formula, you should be very careful. In formula, BEP, you know, fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. MOS, profit divided by PV ratio. Indifference point. So you know all the formula. Remember one thing, the uniformity is for all the formula, denominator contribution per unit means answer in terms of quantity. For all the formula, denominator PV ratio means answer in terms of value. So read the question carefully. The requirement of the question, shutdown point in value means denominator outright PV ratio in the formula. Suppose the requirement of the question BEP in quantity means denominator outright contribution per unit. So where and all denomination contribution per unit is there, answer in terms of quantity. Where and all where requirement is in value, denominator where and all denominator is PV ratio, answer in terms of value. So those mistakes very much chances in main exam, because in examination the requirement you have to compute BEP. BEP requirement assume 30,000 quantity and the value of BEP assume 33 lakhs. The requirement find the BEP value. Instead of writing 3 lakhs, if you are going to write 30,000 units, answer part is not correct, because value are going to value the answer based on answer key. The requirement of the question in rupees mean you have to convert into rupees, or you have to find the respective formula, you have to apply, you have to find the correct answer. Otherwise, you are going to be the loser. Next, if no information in this question, then total fixed cost always same. We have to take as it is. Similarly, variable cost per unit is also always same. Only if there is a change in info, anything given in this question, that time we'll have to change. If question is silent means always take the fixed cost remain constant, variable cost per unit also remain constant, because the basic definition of the fixed cost as well as variable cost itself. Then PV ratio will change only if change in selling price given in this question, then only PV ratio will change. Or change in variable cost per unit is there in this question, then only you have to change the PV ratio. Else, selling price remains same, variable cost remains same, then in order to change the PV ratio for the previous period is equal to current period, same PV ratio you can apply. Then, next commonly committed mistake with respect to computation of fixed cost. If period 1 and period 2 available, then whatever the fixed cost you got it, that answer you can write as it is. But if quarter 1 info and quarter 2 info available, then our fixed cost is equal to fixed cost, whatever the fixed cost you derived into 4, because fixed cost per annum you have to compute. Question specifically given the quarterly fixed cost, therefore you have to multiply. Period given in this question means the period may be month or quarter or half year, we don't know. You can take as it is as a fixed cost. But quarter-wise info means find the total fixed cost, especially segregation of variable cost. Find the variable cost and fixed cost will be there. Quarter 1, quarter 2 will be there. Then you have to compute total fixed cost. With the quarter-wise info means you have to multiply with them 4. Next, if volume of sales, nothing but sales quantity increases, then total sale value also increase, variable cost also proportionately increase, but PV ratio remains same. Okay, sales volume, I'm not talking about price, selling price. Quantity of sales increase means PV ratio will not going to get affected, same PV ratio, but the value of sale will get increased and the variable cost also proportionately will increase. Then here also they ask you to compute semi-variable cost segregation. So you know how to identify variable cost or fixed cost as a variable cost. Then with respect to computation of BEP, sometimes we have to compute formula based method, sometimes you have to compute concept based method. So many students not even aware, 2 different methods are that to compute BEP, like EOQ. Formula based method or concept based method. In EOQ we come across formula based method and tabular method. Here BEP formula based and concept based method. Immediately they ask BEP mean don't write the formula fixed cost divided by PV ratio or fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. How to identify whether the question is based on formula or based on concept. When concept based applicable, we have come across one problem also. If the opening stock information is there, then we have to apply the concept. Further, you have to remember assumptions under BEP theory. If all the assumptions are satisfied, then only you have to apply the formula. If any one of the assumption, even a single assumption is not tallied, then we have to go by way of concept. That's why we come across opening stock, change in opening and closing stock was there in the one question we solved in the class. We have solved by way of concept based method. There also I have introduced marginal costing approach and absorption costing approach, how to solve the problem. Clear? So these are all the points you have to remember with respect to marginal costing. There and all you will have the chance to commit the mistake. The next one, budgetary control. With respect to budgetary control, you have to remember the format carefully. Sales plus opening stock minus closing stock minus opening stock is equal to, clear? What is the production budget, raw material usage budget, raw material consumption budget. Clear? So if you remember all the format I have given the packet size book last few pages, as well as the LMR book also format available. Before you go for exam, kindly refer the format. The format will help you to do the filling the blanks. Happily you can solve. Now, you have to remember the budget, respective budget. Suppose production budget means it may be in units, you have to specify carefully. Raw material purchase budget it may be in kgs or liter. Clear? Labor means it may be in hours. Preparation of profit and statement, it may be in rupees. Clear? Therefore, whether rupees or hours or kgs or unit, you have to specify properly. The heading is not specifically mentioned, you will lose half of mark. Then, with respect to opening stock or the closing stock, which is there this question, before you are going to give the posting, you should be very, very careful whether raw material data or finished goods data. Many occasions students are using the wrong figure. We need opening stock, but opening stock of finished goods or raw material have to be in the question to think properly. Because in question paper, opening stock of raw material, closing stock of raw material will be there. Similarly, opening stock of finished goods, closing stock of finished goods will be there. With respect to production budget, we need finished goods related data. With respect to raw material consumption budget or raw material purchase budget, we need one raw material related data. Therefore, should be very careful with respect to we are dealing with opening and closing stock of raw material or finished goods. Sometimes you have to identify the hidden requirement also. What is hidden requirement? Suppose labor or budget they are asking. Labor cost budget, number of operator budgets. The three requirements are there this question. But all the three requirement is possible only if you are going to do production budget. Without production budget, we can't identify how many hours you need, how much the labor cost, and how many hours required, or how many operators we need. Therefore, hidden requirement is production budget. Sometimes you have to compute production budget. Thereafter only you have to solve the remaining problem. So the requirement is based on what? The hidden requirement. Other remaining requirement based on hidden requirement. Then, with respect to quarter-wise budget, whenever quarter-wise budget is there, fixed cost we have to apportion for each quarter equally. Don't apportion based on number of units. Don't apportion based on closing stock or opening stock or sales quantity or production quantity, because every quarter fixed costs remain constant. But to compute fixed cost for the purpose of computation of fixed cost, total fixed cost computation, it's purely based on budgeted capacity. Remember, overhead also I told. Budgeted capacity also based on normal capacity. So fixed cost you are going to incur based on budgeted or normal capacity. After finding the total fixed cost, we have to apportion the fixed cost equally for each and every quarter. Next, whenever flexible budget asked in the question, always start with the master budget. Master budget is for 100% capacity and the flexible budget is for given capacity. Sometimes 50%, 70% they may ask. Okay. So 100% capacity is called master budget. You have to start with the master budget. Thereafter, next column, flexible budgets you have to write. So master budget is must before you are going to start the flexible budget, because you are going to develop the flexible budget based on the master budget. In master budget, fixed cost is there mean same fixed cost irrespective of the capacity. Variable cost is there mean accordingly proportionately it's going to increase or decrease, but proportionally going to decrease. Clear? That's why master budget is important. Suppose fixed cost 1 lakh in master budget, whether 50% capacity or 70% capacity, same fixed cost only you have to take in flexible budget. Suppose variable cost also 1 lakh rupee, whereas in flexible budget here 50,000 you have to take, 70,000 you have to take, because proportionally you have to take. That's why master budget is important. Then sometime budget with the EOQ they're asking. Always remember, budget you may going to prepare a production budget, raw material usage budget, raw material consumption budget, but EOQ only for raw material, not for finished goods. Here also students are committing mistake. So based on raw material, we have to compute EOQ. That too, production budget you may going to prepare raw material usage budget and raw material purchase budget. But based on raw material usage, nothing but consumption, we have to compute EOQ. Not based on production, not based on raw material, other purchase. Okay, consumption based you have to compute. Because in EOQ, A represents annual requirement of raw material consumed. How much the demand, total requirement of the raw material to produce a product. Therefore, raw material consumption budget is the base for computation of EOQ. Sometimes they're asking budget with the standard. So whenever standard costing with the budgetary control comes into picture, remember one thing, for variance computation, we need to prepare flexible budget. Based on flexible budget, you have to compute variance. How much the actual, how much the flexible? Because master budget will be there, actual will be there. We have to compute flexible. The difference will be there in the question paper. Master to actual is equal to variance. That is not the correct one. We have to prepare flexible. Actual and flexible, the difference is equal to variance. We have to identify the variance based on the difference between flexible budget to actual budget. That is called the variance. So they ask you to prepare budget as well as along with the variance also you have to compute. Then the next topic, standard costing. So with respect to standard costing, 90% of the students used to commit the mistake only with respect to standard. Always remember the standard always based on actual production. So the actual production is the criteria. Suppose standard quantity of raw material for actual production. Standard quantity represent raw material. Actual production represent finished goods. Nothing but it's the input and it's the output. The relationship between input and output is called standard. The word standard always ends with the actual production. So the standard quantity represent expected quantity of raw material required for actual production is called standard. Same manner, standard as represent expected as required for actual production. That's why the word standard always ends with actual production, finished goods. Next, with respect to variance analysis, material mix variance, labor mix variance, mix and material mix and yield variance, labor mix and revised efficiency variance, sales mix variance and quantity variance. The subclassifications are applicable. The two columns are applicable with respect to material, labor and overhead only if there is more than one cadre. More than one raw material is there, mean mix and yield variance arise. Otherwise, it won't come. More than one labor is there, mean one cadre of labor is there, mean labor mix and efficiency variance will come. Otherwise, it won't come. Same manner, more than one product they are selling means sales mix and sales quantity variance will come. Otherwise, it won't applicable at all. Then, the next one is labor mix variance is also known as gang variance. That's what I have given on homework question also. Gang variance. Sometimes they lost gang variance. Don't get the confusion. I not even come across gang. Gang nothing but mixer of people. So the labor mix variance is also called gang variance. Okay. Whenever you come across idle time, we have to compute idle time variance separately. Always remember, idle time variance is always negative only. There is no positive. Okay, always negative. With respect to fixed overhead variance, the commonly committed mistake, there are two different types of fixed overhead variance are there. One is without calendar variance, another one is with calendar variance. In exam, they won't specify the problem is based on with or without calendar. You have to identify accordingly. Formula also will change. Whenever budgeted days and actual days are given in this question, we have to solve the problem by way of with calendar, else without calendar. So budgeted days and actual days are there in this question mean, because in exam they won't give any other clue. Player shouldn't find the solve the variance based on with calendar. They won't give any clue. You have to identify. In this question, budgeted days and actual days are there. If it is there, mean you have to solve the problem only by way of with calendar. Budgeted and actual days are not given in this question mean, then we can solve the problem. Then we have to solve the problem only by way of without calendar variance. Okay. Next, with respect to ratios in standard costing, volume ratio is a combination of capacity ratio into efficiency ratio into calendar ratio. It's a combination of all is called what? Volume ratio. Sometimes missing figure they'll ask. Any one of the ratio is a missing figure. So capacity into efficiency into calendar. Sometimes efficiency and balancing figure means, you know, capacity into X into calendar is equal to volume. Thereafter, you have to find out X value. Always remember, variance you have to express in terms of rupees. That is more important. You have to express in terms of rupees. Next, cost sheet. With respect to cost sheet, you know, factory cost is also known as works cost. There the students are committing mistake. After the works cost, you know, prime cost plus factory cost is equal to works cost. Add opening stock of WIP less closing stock of WIP. Balance is called cost of manufacture. There they will commit the mistake. This element is called what? Cost of manufacture. That is, after adjusting opening and closing stock of WIP, the resultant figure is called cost of manufacture. Add administrative overhead. After adding administration overhead, then it is called cost of production. Because reverse working problem, they'll give some amount with respect to cost of manufacture, cost of production. You should be the person to know the format properly. Thereafter, listen here. Add opening stock of finished goods. Don't subtract closing stock immediately. The total is equal to cost of goods available for sale. One occasion, examination, they ask the question based on cost of goods available for sale. Based on the reverse working, how to solve. If you don't know the format properly, you can't afford to get the solution also. So these are all the things we have to consider in cost sheet. They are commonly committed mistake. Then process costing. Process costing, 3 segments are there. You should be very careful. One is preparation of process account with accounting treatment of normal loss, abnormal loss, and abnormal gain. The first segment. Further, you have to write some few, we have to develop some few problems you have to know how to solve. Second one, I have given the list of problems, what and all you have to solve in every segment, what are all the probability you have to cover. Those probability, kindly refer one more time. Okay, LMR strategy I have given. Second one, whenever WIP is there in this question, we have to solve the problem by way of equivalent production. Third one, inter-process profit method. One element, another element, I'm going to transfer after adding the profit. That is called inter-product profit. In general, output of the one process, you are going to transfer to next process at a cost. If I'm going to add some profit, thereafter I'm going to transfer, then it's called inter-process profit method. Here, the first segment, what are the chances of committing mistakes? Accounting treatment of normal loss, they'll commit the mistake. Whether abnormal loss, okay, abnormal loss or abnormal gain. After adjusting normal loss salvage value, we have to transfer to costing P&L account. The treatment is important. Whether abnormal loss or abnormal gain, after adjusting normal loss salvage value, thereafter you have to transfer to costing P&L account. Abnormal loss means debit side of the costing P&L account. Abnormal gain means credit side of the costing P&L account. That's all. So abnormal loss or abnormal gain, after adjusting normal loss salvage value, you have to transfer to costing P&L account. Their chance of committing mistake is very, very high. Especially abnormal gain treatment is comparatively difficult. Therefore, try one more time the same problem what we have did in the class. That is more than sufficient. With respect to equivalent production, in detail we discuss everything in the classroom itself. Whether the equivalent production applicable or not, first you have to identify. With respect to equivalent production, whenever WIP given in this question, then only equivalent production is applicable. With respect to equivalent production, whether FIFO method or weighted average method, you should be careful. there they'll commit the mistake. If the percentage of completion for opening WAP given in this question, then only we can solve the problem by way of FIFO method. The percentage of completion for opening WAP not given in this question, then we can solve the problem only by way of weighted average method. So I'll repeat once again. In exam, they won't specify the problem is based on FIFO or weighted average. You have to identify the problem is based on FIFO or weighted average. If the degree of completion for the opening WAP is given in this question, then we have to solve the problem by way of FIFO method. The degree of completion for opening WAP is not given in this question, then we have to solve the problem by way of weighted average method. Clear? And with respect to abnormal loss, degree of completion, in general 100% for material, labor and overhead. But whenever unit scrapped degree of completion is given in this question, degree of completion for unit scrapped given in this question mean the same percentage is applicable for abnormal loss. I'll repeat, in general, degree of completion for the abnormal loss is 100%, but degree of completion for the unit scrapped given in this question mean that percentage only out apply. But at the same time, with respect to abnormal gain, even the unit degree of completion for unit scrap given in this question, for abnormal gain, always 100% only have to take. Because a fully gained product, therefore, always 100% is applicable. Material, labor, overhead, everything 100% only have to take. The problem is based on two materials or not, you have to identify. Whenever two material arises, when it is arises, whenever you come across subsequent process, they ask you to prepare process 2 account, or process 3 account, or process B account, or C account, other than first process, then that is called subsequent process. Whenever the question is based on subsequent process in equivalent production, two material arises, that is material A and material B. So, with respect to computation of cost per unit of material A, computation of cost per unit, you know material A and material B, normal loss will be there. That is what the doubt asked by the student. Normal loss salvage value, we have to subtract from the first material A, not from the second material. So these are all the points you have to remember. And with respect to abnormal gain in equivalent production, for abnormal gain, for input output quantity reconciliation, okay, the statement of equivalent production, abnormal gain will form part of output column, not in input column. But in process account, it's an account, therefore abnormal gain will come under the debit side, whereas equivalent production table, output column you have to write. These are all the area in which students are commonly committing mistake. You should be very careful before you are going to attack the problem. Clear? So if you can remember all commonly committed mistake. So as of now, you discussed what, where and all chances are there to commit the mistake. So if you know all commonly committed mistake, if you are going to remember one time properly, if you are going to pay attention, I'll give the personal guarantee you will get minimum 85% of 85 marks in costing paper itself. Costing is equal to common sense only. By way of common sense, happily you can cross. When the previous batch student got 91 mark in costing. Clear? It's purely based on what? Common sense. If you learn the costing by way of common sense, very easy for it to attack the main problem. So try to know only by way of costing, only by way of concept. Why students are feeling difficulty in costing paper? Clear? To make them to understand. That's why the burden is very high. Keep on mugging the problem. It's very difficult. Because mugging the formula also, if you apply the concept, very easy for you. To try to understand the concept, based on concept, you have to solve the problem. That's why one person was there, Jamindar. Okay, he wanted to give some medicine to his pet dog. And the dog is not ready to accept the medicine. So he called his servants. 4 servants came. All of them hold the dog properly. He wanted to feed the medicine to dog. And with a great difficulty, all of them catch hold of the dog properly. He about to give the medicine. By the time he shaken, that's all, medicine has fallen down. And he jumped and ran away. All of them got upset. After half an hour effort, we thought of giving medicine to a dog. The dog is not ready to accept the medicine. After a few minutes, the dog came back and started enjoying the medicine, started eating the medicine from the floor. The moral of the story is, dog is not liking it's not correct. Dog is not liking the medicine. The dog not ready to accept the way in which the medicine was given. Dog ready to accept the medicine, but it is not ready to accept the way in which it was given. The same circumstance for the CA student also. Students are ready to enjoy the subject, ready to learn the subject, ready to learn the costing. But the way in which they are feeding the costing, the way in which they are showing the PowerPoint, mugging up the PowerPoint, by way in copying what a PowerPoint from their students are nowadays, they are giving training with respect to copy-paste activity, not in concentrating activity. Students also very happily, they want to copy, thereafter want to clap. Ultimately, there is no use. If you learn the costing by way of concept, happily you can score the mark. Students are liking the costing purely by way of how they are going to take, that is important. We should not be in the position to feed. We have to be in the position to make them to understand properly. For that, try to learn only by way of concept. Happily you can score super.